progress. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Morning and a very warm welcome to the Global South-South Development Expo 2022. The official opening session will commence shortly. This year's Expo is co-organized by the Government of Thailand, the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, and the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, under the theme Advancing South-South and Triangular Cooperation for Sustainable COVID-19 Recovery Towards a Smart and Resilient Future. As a precautionary measure during the COVID-19 pandemic, we kindly request all persons present in the room to keep their face masks on all times, except when taking the floor. We also welcome all participants joining us online. As we expect the dignitaries to arrive here in ESCAP Hall in the next few minutes, may I request all participants to kindly take your seats and now keep your mobile phones switched off or turn on to silent mode during the session to avoid disruption in the proceedings. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a warm welcome to the Global South-South Development Expo 2022. The official opening segment of this year's Expo will now begin. We will now view a video message from Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations to this Expo.
In this era of unprecedented challenge and upheaval, solutions lie in solidarity. South-South and triangular cooperation are critical for developing countries to mitigate and adapt to climate disruption, address the global health crisis, including COVID-19 recovery, and achieve all 17 Sustainable Development Goals. It is important that Southern-led development solutions are shared far and wide. South-South and triangular cooperation must play an ever-increasing role in resolving our common challenges. But that does not absolve the wealthier nations of their responsibilities to work constructively with the developing world, especially to reduce growing inequalities between and within nations. As we commemorate the United Nations Day for South-South cooperation, I encourage all nations and communities to redouble cooperation and build bridges to achieve an equitable and sustainable future for all.
We will now view a video message from His Excellency Mr. Abdullah Shahid, President of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly.
Excellencies, friends, colleagues, it is my pleasure to join you in celebrating the United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation. Today, we reaffirm the warm ties of solidarity among the peoples and countries of this global South and the urgent need for their continued cooperation. In light of the global South's shared historical ties and development pathways, such cooperation is pivotal to shaping today's development landscape and to meeting our common aspirations. The world is at a critical time. The pandemic, the climate crisis, the long-standing and new conflicts, economic inequalities, and rising inflation are jeopardizing many of the development gains we have struggled for decades to achieve. We are now 3 years into a pandemic whose impacts have been devastating for the world. Yet, the consequences have been particularly severe for the countries of the Global South. Without the Global South's comprehensive recovery, we cannot get back on track to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We will need their energy, ingenuity, and cooperative spirit. Success will also require the support of the broader international community, including development finance, sharing of knowledge and technical expertise, as I have continued to highlight throughout my presidency of hope. My friends, deeper South-South cooperation combined with multilateral assistance and effective triangular cooperation can accelerate global economic recovery and get us on track to meeting the SDGs on time. Therefore, going forward, let us put our trust in one another and let us vindicate that trust through mutual aid and cooperation. With that solidarity and collective willpower, we can recover better, expand our horizons, and achieve our vision for a brighter future. I thank you.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to invite His Excellency Mr. Wishawat Isarapakdi, Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs of Thailand, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
Good morning. It's very exciting to see such a global and enthusiastic attendance at this event today. Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished colleagues and development partners, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to join all of you this morning for the opening of the 11th Global South-South Development Expo 2022, which is being held for the first time in Thailand, and for that matter, in the Asia-Pacific region. On behalf of the Royal Thai government and the people of Thailand, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to all participants from across the world. Your participation reflects your governments and organizations' strong support for South-South and triangular cooperation. I would also like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank our co-hosts, the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation and the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, for their joint efforts and tireless work in making this event happen. Ladies and gentlemen, today also marks the United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation. Over the past decades, we have seen remarkable examples of development cooperation among the Global South, which yielded wide-ranging and tangible results. Their success stories attest to the potential of South-South and triangular cooperation to accelerate the achievement of global and national development goals. This is therefore a timely opportunity for us to reaffirm our collective commitment to further enhancing this win-win partnership. Our heartfelt tribute goes to the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, which has played a central role as the UN focal point for promoting South-South and triangular cooperation globally. The theme of this year's GSSD Expo, Advancing South-South and Triangular Cooperation for Sustainable COVID-19 Recovery Towards a Smart and Resilient Future, is very appropriate and highly relevant. It reminds us of how vital global partnerships are in tackling the multiple challenges brought about by COVID-19. We, as one global community, must pull together if we aspire to build a more livable and prosperous world, thus fulfilling our promise of leaving no one behind. The COVID-19 pandemic has not only derailed the attainment of national and global development targets, but it has also rolled back years of economic and social progress that many countries have achieved. The situation has been exacerbated by the global economic uncertainty as a result of surging energy and food prices and supply chain disruptions. According to the recently released UN Sustainable Development Goals Report 2022, these interlinked global crises have pushed 93 million more people worldwide into extreme poverty because their jobs were lost. An estimated 147 million children missed more than half of their in-class instruction over the past 2 years. The pandemic also put essential health services under great stress. These profound effects have been unevenly felt. The poorest and the most marginalized groups, especially in lower income countries, are the ones who are most adversely affected. These widening socio-economic disparities have also been worsening between the global north and the global south. I believe that inclusivity and solidarity are key to address these imbalances. Now, more than ever, it is crucial to strengthen our partnerships at all levels to narrow these development gaps. Ladies and gentlemen, Thailand remains fully committed to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. To ensure an inclusive and sustainable recovery from the pandemic, the Thai government has embraced the biocircular green economy model alongside the sufficiency economy philosophy. We believe that this development approach will contribute to food security, health security, job security, and energy security, thus strengthening the social safety nets for all. During these difficult times, Thailand has endeavored to play our part in helping other developing countries to respond to the needs of the hour and strengthen their public health systems. We have also strived to sustain positive momentum in other areas of development cooperation, such as food security, climate change, energy efficiency, rural development, and community-based tourism. A case in point is the wide range of human capacity building activities that we have undertaken with many developing countries beyond our immediate region. Ladies and gentlemen, sustainability is the solid foundation for our shared security and prosperity. It can only be achieved through our common resolve and collective efforts. The GSSD Expo 2022 provides a valuable forum for us to exchange new ideas, share adaptable solutions, reinforce existing networks, and explore new partnerships for development cooperation. We are now living in challenging times. The road to a full recovery and the attainment of the SDGs by 2030 is long and bumpy. But through enhanced South-South and triangular cooperation, we can rise to the challenge and achieve great things. Let us therefore seize this opportunity to create a more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable future for our generation and generations to come. I thank you very much.
I would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Wishawat Israpakdi, Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs of Thailand, for his remarks. I would like to invite Ms. Amida Salsaya Al-Shabana, Under Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Secretary of the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, to deliver her opening remarks.
Excellency Mr. Vijayawat Isarabakdi, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Thailand, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Global South-South Development Expo 2022. We are delighted to partner with the Royal Thai Government and the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation to co-host this Global Expo in Bangkok, Thailand. It is also the first time that the Global Expo is organized in hybrid format, bringing together stakeholders from across the world, both in person as well as online. The program for the next 3 days comprises a number of important events, including the commemoration of the United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation, the 4th Asia-Pacific Directors General's Forum on South-South and Triangle Cooperation, the Global Director General Forum, and several thematic discussions and side events on key issues. I hope you will actively participate in these deliberations and find the time to network as development partners. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ESCAP is the most inclusive intergovernmental platform in Asia and the Pacific. From Tuvalu in the east to Turkey in the west, we cover 62 members as well as associate members. South-South and Triangle Cooperation has been at the heart of our work since we were established. Its expanding role in advancing partnership for the sustainable development of the region was recognized by countries in a resolution adopted at the 75th session of the Commission in 2019. Through our research and analysis, our intergovernmental platform, and our technical cooperation program, we are proud to have made significant contribution to the development of Asia and the Pacific, establishing key regional institutions, negotiating crucial intergovernmental agreements, undertaking quality normative and analytic work, advocating for policies to address critical and emerging issues, and building the capacity of its members to address common and transboundary development challenges in the region. South-South cooperation is a key modality of our member states to respond to crises such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the impacts of climate change that no country can shoulder on their own. Over the past decades, South-South cooperation has gained increased importance in accelerating sustainable development. Countries in Asia and the Pacific have achieved remarkable socio-economic development and technological progress. Many are now providing technical assistance and develop finance and sharing innovative approaches to assist other countries of the South to advance sustainable development. In line with its regional mandate, we have fostered South-South cooperation mechanism for supporting countries in need. One example is the Regional Space Application Program for Sustainable Development, or is known as RESAP, which provides countries without a space program of their own to access space-derived data, products, and services for inclusive and sustainable development. Leveraging South-South and Triangle cooperation, we have also broadened regional trade and investment research and knowledge through the Asia-Pacific Research and Training Network on Trade, or also known as ARTNET. We are supporting governments to promote inclusive business models and fostering regional cooperation to preserve trade and transport connectivity in the context of the pandemic. We have numerous such examples that demonstrate South-South cooperation works across our thematic areas. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, home to over 60% of the world's population, the Asia-Pacific region is the engine of the world's economy. It is the world's largest trading region, sitting at the heart of global value chain and international investment. Asian and Pacific countries are at the forefront of innovation and leading investment in frontier technologies. However, these hard-won gains are at stake. Almost halfway into the implementation of the 2030 Agenda, the COVID-19 pandemic, the worsening impact of climate change, growing inequalities, and rising geopolitical tensions have laid bare to the fragility of our interconnected world. These crises threaten not only our efforts to achieve the SDGs, but we also risk regressing on key indicators of inclusive and sustainable development. We need to continue to build upon our foundation of South-South and triangular cooperation, as an integral part of international development cooperation. We need collective determination, solidarity, and cooperation to overcome the myriad challenges facing our region and to build back better. I wish you fruitful and dynamic deliberations over the next 3 days and look forward to exchanges among a wide range of development partners to give South-South and triangular cooperation the support it deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary, for your remarks. Distinguished delegates, we will now view a recorded message from Mr. Achim Steiner, Administrator of the United Nations Development Programme.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Thailand, Don Pramudwinai, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, my dear friend and colleague Armida Salcia Alice Chiabana, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to join the opening of the Global South-South Development Expo 2022. I want to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to the Government of the Kingdom of Thailand, to ESCAP, and the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation for organizing this timely event. It aims to showcase some of the very best development solutions across the world, ready to be shared and scaled up. In doing so, it is helping countries to build forward better from the devastating socioeconomic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today we also mark the United Nations Day for South-South Cooperation. It is a moment to highlight how South-South and triangular cooperation continue to be a proven and trusted platform to share and implement solutions to some of the world's most persistent development challenges. It is an approach that recognizes that development is no longer a one-way transfer of funds or expertise. Rather, it is centered on the principle of co-investing in our future. As COVID-19 still holds a tight grip, this dynamic form of cooperation is bolstering the ability of countries and communities to respond to the crisis. For instance, South-South and triangular cooperation is powering a groundbreaking regional initiative involving the African Union, the World Bank, and the Africa Vaccine Acquisition Task Team. Complementing the work of COVAX, it is providing resources to allow countries to purchase and deploy vaccines for up to 400 million people across the continent of Africa. At the United Nations Development Programme, South-South and triangular cooperation is embedded in our development support across the globe, a fact emphasized in our latest strategic plan. That includes helping countries to expand access to basic services and tackle climate change. For example, a South-South cooperation project is helping to foster the transfer of renewable energy technology between the governments of China, Ethiopia, and Sri Lanka with a focus on smallholder farmers. Or consider a triangular cooperation project supported by the Republic of Korea and UNDP. It is providing 23 villages in Indonesia and 25 villages in Timor-Leste with new access to electricity via solar power, opening up a range of new opportunities. At UNDP, we are proud to host the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation since 1974. It is a fulcrum to multiply South-South and triangular cooperation through intergovernmental policy processes, UN system-wide coordination, knowledge exchange, capacity development, and South-South trust funds. As part of our efforts to enhance the exchange of expertise, a new publication led by the office entitled Good Practices in South-South and Triangular Cooperation for Sustainable Development, Volume 4, is being launched today. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment of global uncertainty, the entire UN family and our partners continue to stand side by side with the Global South. Together, we are supporting countries and communities to drive progress across all 17 Sustainable Development Goals, helping to co-create the future that they want and indeed that we all want. Thank you so much.
Next, I would like to invite Ms. Xiaojun Grace Wang, Head of Delegation of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, to deliver her remarks.
Your Excellency, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Thailand, Mr. Vajavat Isarabhati, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, UN Under-Secretary General Amita Salsia Alisjabana, all distinguished participants, UN colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, I would like to extend our profound gratitude to our co-host, the Government of Thailand, and our co-organizer, the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for the Asia and the Pacific. Both are true champions for South-South cooperation. Thailand's sufficiency economy philosophy has offered inspirations to other developing countries as well. ESCAP has demonstrated strong support to South-South cooperation in the region. Colleagues, welcome you all to the 2022 Global South-South Development Expo. This is the first GSSD Expo to be hosted in the dynamic Asia and Pacific region, and the first to be held after the second high-level UN conference on South-South cooperation, also known as BAPA Plus 40. This will also be the first Expo to be convened in a hybrid and green format, with both in-person and virtual participation significantly expanding the active engagement of all stakeholders from all around the world. Since the launch in 2008, 10 expos have been successfully organized by the UN Office for South-South Cooperation, hosted in UNDP, in our capacity as the General Assembly mandated global and UN system-wide coordinator and facilitator for South-South and triangular cooperation. This relies on the wonderful partnership with host countries, UN agencies, and international organizations. Many of you here today have been our partners or will be our partners to carry the torch of Global South-South Development Expo forward. The theme of this 11th Expo, Advancing South-South and Triangular Cooperation for Sustainable COVID-19 Recovery Towards a Smart and Resilient Future. While we all know the COVID-19 pandemic knows no borders, it has had the greatest, most severe impact on the world's poorest and most vulnerable people. It has put a test to development cooperation, and South-South has risen to that test. At the Expo, we will discuss how South-South and triangular cooperation can best support recovery efforts. We will identify and showcase Southern solutions and initiatives. We will review development cooperation policies, diversified approaches, and capacity development opportunities. So the coming 3 days will be very busy. But I'm certain that the time we spend together here will be most valuable and impactful as it connects like-minded partners and leads to many more South-South and triangular cooperation opportunities for sustainable development. We believe together we'll become stronger, and together we can build the world better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wang, for your remarks. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, It is now my honor to invite Mr. Kitak Lim, Secretary General, International Maritime Organization, to deliver his message of the solidarity as the special guest at today's opening of the Global South-South Development Expo 2022.
Vice Minister, Secretary General of UN ESCAP, and Head of the UNOSSC, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer, the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, UNOSS, and the co-host, the Government of Thailand, and the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, ESCAP, for facilitating discussion on how South-South and triangular cooperation can best support post-pandemic recovery efforts. In particular, I commend you for addressing many global challenges, including extreme poverty, food insecurity, and the vaccination inequality through this GSSD Expo. As you are well aware, shipping is invaluable to global trade and economic growth, as over 80% of world trade relies on shipping. We need to look ahead to the entire industry's future. We need to take advantage of this opportunity to drive a green and sustainable maritime future, whilst continuing to keep seafarers at the core of shipping's development. IMO, as a global standard-setting authority for safety, security, efficiency, and environmental performance of international shipping, with a comprehensive body over 50 international conventions, has a major role to play. Our instrument governs the ship's life cycles, from ship design, construction, through navigation and education and training of maritime personnel, liability, and compensation after accident, and finally to ships recycling, and also facilitation of maritime traffic. IMO has a long tradition of assisting developing countries in building up their human and institutional capacity so that they are not left behind. IMO's projects have a strong focus on the environment and innovation in the maritime sector, with many focused on the relevant climate change and energy efficiency goals for the IMO's climate change strategy. Much of the work of these projects relies on the South-South and the triangular cooperation on a regional and a global level. And the IMO is seeking every opportunity to expand its portfolio of long-term global, regional, and national projects. They are results-oriented and externally funded. By focusing on marine environment protection, maritime safety and security, and efficient trade flows, these projects and initiatives will further support developing countries in addressing some of the world's most pressing challenges related to sustainable maritime transport, and to enable them to benefit from the new opportunities emerging from those developments, including in areas such as decarbonization and digitalization. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a very successful Expo, and I'm encouraging collaboration and partnership at all levels to explore the best way to meet our shared goals. At this moment, I have to say, I'm the first, the IMO's incumbent secretary to visit UN ESCA, first time in long, some 60 or 70 years. And we are planning to expand and enhance cooperation program with the Asia Pacific region in the area of maritime and logistics. So I'm looking forward your more the active participation and join our effort. So I'm very happy to be here at the UN ESCAP. So I'm very happy to see, among others, the Secretary General of the Armenia, the Sasha. I wish you all a very successful Expo, and I encourage collaboration and partnership at all levels. So I'm looking forward more collaboration, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in London at the IMO. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General. Excellencies, distinguished delegates and participants, this brings us all to the end of the opening ceremony of the Global South-South Expo 2022. I would like to invite our distinguished co-hosts and guest speaker for a group photo on stage. Thank you very much. We will now proceed with the launch of the physical exhibition, which is set up on levels 1 and 2 of the UNCC outside of ESCAP Hall. May I kindly request all the UNOSSC liaison officers to escort the ministers, vice ministers, and the co-host representatives to the group photo location. And distinguished participants, may I invite all other delegates to view a short video here, prepared for this expo. After the video is finished, please proceed outside to enjoy the exhibition and a coffee break. Thank you.
The COVID-19 pandemic has shown just how the world is interconnected. To overcome this crisis, we need to cooperate and protect the health and well-being of everyone on the planet. South-South cooperation and triangular cooperation is central to achieving this goal, while also accelerating the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. At the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, facilitating South-South cooperation is at the heart of everything we do and what we have done for the past 75 years. With a network of 8 divisions and 5 sub-regional offices working across 8 thematic areas, along with 5 specialized regional institutions, ESCAP acts as a catalyst to exchange knowledge, resources, and advice to create a more inclusive and sustainable Asia and the Pacific. A sample of ESCAP's cooperative achievements include identifying best practices when it comes to using technology in the healthcare of older persons, helping women entrepreneurs in the region access e-commerce platforms, and facilitating the sharing of knowledge about improving civil registration systems. It's projects like these that bring about more effective, inclusive, and networked multilateralism, allowing the Asia-Pacific region to work collectively to address its challenges and improve the health and prosperity of everyone. To celebrate the enduring spirit of South-South cooperation, we welcome you to this year's Global South-South Development Expo, co-hosted by ESCAP, the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, and the Royal Thai Government. Let's work together to create a sustainable COVID-19 recovery and accelerate implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We look forward to welcoming you all at the Global South-South Development Expo 2022.
Recording stopped.